Welcome to Sports Talk with L-Beasley. And you already know, I'm pretty sure if you follow me on Twitter, you friends with me on Facebook, you already know what I'm about to discuss. Because I was basically last night tweeting and, making Facebook statuses about it all night. But at the end of the day, you know what I'm about to talk about. I'm about to talk about that horrible, horrible call made by those replacement officials in that Monday Night Football game between the Seattle Seahawks and the Green Bay Packers. That was a horrible call. I've seen some horrible calls, and I've been sick of these refs. I already offered to, help do my civic duty to help pay for these refs to get our old refs back. And like I said, I'm never saying that our refs are perfect because no ref is, but this was ridiculous. At this point, I'm pretty sure everybody has seen it as far as viewers and what. I'm pretty sure all you have seen it. Jennings clearly intercepted the ball. Clearly, Tate didn't touch it. Except when they all fell down, and I think low-key just stuck his arm in there like we see players do all the time. From what I can see, that ball was clutched to Jennings' chest the entire time, all up until Tate basically and him was just basically playing tug-of-war. Like I said, by that time, to me, Jennings had been down anyway. But them two, like I said, I understand during the game when you're first watching it, it was hard to see. At first, I ain't gonna say here, I was thinking, oh, Tate just made a huge play. And then when I saw it back, I was like, oh, wait, no, Jennings intercepted that. Because obviously, I say, fast motion, sometimes it's a little tough to see, who came down with the ball. I understand that. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, for y'all as refs to go to the replay, look at it consistently in a, slow motion, how do you decide? You can't tell me you didn't have clear evidence. Because that ball was clearly in Jennings' hands. And like I said, I'm going to be quite frank. Green Bay got cheated. They got cheated. That was ridiculous. And like I said, as far as the NFL goes, what are y'all doing at this point to fix this? I think that would be my main question. What are y'all doing right now to fix this? Because like I said, y'all really got some cleaning up to do. Because everybody in America saw that was the wrong call. For players like Reggie Bush, for NBA superstar like LeBron James to be making tweets about the game, actor himself, Samuel Jackson, was fed up with this play. These are people who just either are in the NFL, players, like, NBA athletes, whatever the case may be. These are just people who just love the game genuinely. And for them to still be frustrated with it too, it's getting ridiculous. And like I said, at this point, what are you doing? Stephen A. Smith tweeted that if the NFL had any integrity or was to maintain if they were to maintain any credibility whatsoever, it should be overturned. This decision should be made immediately, and the game should be awarded to Green Bay, which they did not do. They let them keep it, which was horrible. And like I said, for you to constantly go to the replay booth and see it, how do you pick that? And like I said, on top of that, what really pisses me off about Golden Tate, first of all, you taking credit for something you ain't do, which is just wrong. But on top of that, you already did pass interference. That was the first thing that pissed me off. You put Shields so hard, he flew across the field. And then your boy gonna have the nerve try to take a catch and act like you a hero? Are you kidding me? Like I said, these refs have to go. And I've been hearing, from some of my sources that the NFL and the refs are back meeting again, trying to come up with a solution. But, the unfortunate thing is, I tweeted, I'm done watching the NFL. I can't do this, But at the end of the day, I know a part of me lying. Because I love the NFL, and, it's just really sad what the game has become because it is destroying our game as we know it. And that's what's really frustrating, watching this game. It was, it was just like, really? And that was the whole thing about me. I'm a fan of the Seahawks. I love Russell Wilson. I'm like, I'm rooting for the Seahawks. I like people like Sidney Rice, Marshawn Lynch. I even like Golden Tate. I don't like them no more over here lying and then some, deny. Like, But, that's a whole nother, so I'm getting on that in a minute. But like I said, I like the Seahawks. I was rooting for them to win. I picked Green Bay to win because I felt at the end of the day, Seahawks wouldn't be able to execute in a clutch game situation, which proved my point. But at the end of the day, I was still rooting for the Seahawks. Like I said, I like the Seahawks. Y'all have heard me plenty of times say, I love Russell Wilson. I'm always cheering for him to do his thing. I like the Seahawks, but that's ridiculous. And like I said, for them to make that call after looking at that replay, that's just sad. That's sad. Experts have said it. Analysts have said it. Anybody who knows this game has said it. Even just fans, period, of the game, everybody agreed that was not a catch. And for them to keep it there as a touchdown and allow Golden Tate and the rest of the Seahawks to walk out of there with a victory is truly sad. And, like I said, I really want to see what's going to really happen with these refs. But like I said, at the end of the day, short of anything drastic happening like a strike or a boycott or just people no longer tuning into the games, I mean, what's to stop Roger Goodell from keeping it this way? I mean, yeah, we can complain and whatnot, but I mean, he's still getting rich. So, just saying. Like I said, I'm hope we get the real refs back soon. I really do, because like I said, I can't take this. Like I said, I'm always been a bigger fan of college football and college basketball over pros anyway. But that doesn't mean I want to see the integrity and the credibility destroyed. I already see it happening with the NBA. I would hate to see it happen even more with the NFL. It's bad enough Roger Goodell and dang on near turned it into a flag football league. Now we can't even get proper refs. So this was sickening. And just going to some of like the comments that were made. Like I said, Golden Tate highly pissed me off when he was being interviewed after the game. While on the field, post game interview on the field, basically was asked, "Did you push off?" I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. He said he just competed. Well, you know what? If that's compete, that's cheat. Because you're not allowed to push anybody in the back. And then for you to bring God into it, that was a whole nother issue that I had. And my whole thing, that was just ridiculous, And like I said, at the end of the day, it's not like I was expecting him to say, yeah, I pushed off, but I don't know what I was expecting. But what came out of his mouth pissed me off. And Mike McCarthy, the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, quarterback Aaron Rodgers, they showed a lot of class, a lot of self-control in their press conference. One thing Mike McCarthy basically said, don't even bring up the replacement rest. Every time the replacement rest were brought up, he said, no comment or change the subject. I'm not answering that. And I like how, Aaron and McCarthy took blame. McCarthy blamed himself offensively for what happened with the team, but he said my defense played great. And pretty much Aaron Rodgers said the same thing, he didn't agree with the call. Now, Aaron was a little bit more forthcoming with his thoughts on it. Aaron was basically like, when somebody asked Aaron about the call, he said awful. What was so awful about it? He said, just look at the replay. Shouldn't even have to be reviewed, Aaron said. Aaron said shouldn't even have to be reviewed. I can see it having to be reviewed because, like I said, these refs apparently don't know what they're doing, when it's at full game speed. But like I said, to go and look at the replay was ridiculous. But like I said, they just handled themselves with such a great deal of dignity in class, and like I said, obviously there was a lot of ranting on Twitter, and like I said, for people, and like I said, they're not the only, Green Bay Packers are not the only one who are upset. We have it's celebrities who pissed, people who just fans of the game. Reggie Bush tweeted that he was sick of it. He was like, this is ridiculous. LeBron James, who I don't even care much for, but I finally agree with something he said. He said he loved the game way too much for this to see this happen. Green Bay got cheated. Samuel L. Jackson, the actor, went off. He had a few choice cuss words in his tweet. So it's frustrating just nationally, if not, nationwide. It is frustrating for people to watch this and just see what's going on. And I understand it because I'm frustrated. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's done. At this point, you got to move forward. This is going to definitely go down as one of the saddest moments in NFL history, probably. But at this point, there's really nothing we can do. They already said the Seahawk battle, win will stand. It shouldn't. To me, it shouldn't. It should have been awarded to Green Bay. But, they've already made a decision. It's going to stay with Seattle. It's not right. I don't agree. But that's just the way it is. Like I said, but like I said, even just going back to the game. Now, from a game standpoint, let me say, Green Bay and Seahawks played very well. They did, and that's something I do want to bring up, not just, and like I said, that's really what I hate is this was really a great game to show really what the Seahawks were made of, and quite frankly, what Green Bay is really lacking. But at the end of the day, Seattle played great. Russell Wilson threw for 130 passing yards. He had 2 touchdowns. He rushed for about 18 yards. Marshawn Lynch rushed for nearly 100 yards. No touchdowns for him. But, the Seahawks defense was truly something to watch. That secondary was very impactful. That D-line. The whole defense. Seattle Seahawks defense is definitely something to look out for. And I've said that a couple times. They have a nice little defense. But, watching them against Green Bay was very impressive. Now, towards Green Bay, that offensive line, I don't know if Rodgers undid something to them or what the problem is, or they just maybe they're just lacking at this point. That offensive line looked horrible. Aaron has been, I don't think I've seen Aaron get pressure like that in some years, since he first started as the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers after Brett Favre left. This is ridiculous. But like I said, with Green Bay, I like what Aaron and Mike said. At the end of the day, it shouldn't even been that situation. And that's what I really respected. It wasn't just the fact that they held it all in. They didn't necessarily say anything to be disrespectful, but just the fact that they came out there and said, you know what? Shouldn't even been that game. It shouldn't even been winnable. We should have won. Period. And I can always respect that. When you do something like that and you come out and say, we should have won anyway, it doesn't matter. I can respect that. That's real. And hopefully they take this and they carry it for the whole season. Of course as a Lions fan, I kind of hope you don't, but then the way we play, who would have thought the Packers and the Lions would both be 1-2? Who would have thought? What I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I think it is, like I said, it's definitely some much-needed adjustments on Green Bay. Running game-wise, they are truly lacking because Cedric Benson is not getting the job done, which, never thought he was in the first place. That was really just a signing because they were desperate. But at this point, Packers are kind of showing, once again, and proving my point, you cannot be two-dimensional. You cannot be one-dimensional and think that you're going to survive games or you're going to be able to compete. Like I said, one thing that was always great about Green Bay, it's the same thing that's good about San Francisco, same thing that was good about the Colts at one point, same thing that was good about Green Bay at one point, or any team who's been successful, same thing that was good about the Steelers. You are two-dimensional. You can run and pass the ball. Benson is not getting the job done. He's really your running back right now. You're not really putting nobody else in there except Kuhn. That's about it. That's about it. So you don't have any rushing possibilities. So everybody knows you're going to the air. And, Rodgers is a good passer, but it doesn't help when he doesn't get time. But at the end of the day, it still looks like to me some of him and his receivers are out of sync. So at this point, I have to start wondering, what's going on with Green Bay as far as a team. Defensively, like I said, they played huge. Of course, yeah, they gave up scores, but in the end, they really came up huge, especially in the end. Obviously they just got cheated out at the end. But like I said, I love what Aaron and Mike McCarthy said. At the end of the day, we shouldn't even been in that battle. No offense to Seattle, they played great. They're a great defense. Rising offense, no question. But at the end of the day, we shouldn't even put ourselves in that situation. I have to agree. You shouldn't have put yourself in a situation. But the point is, you were in that situation. You got cheated. You deserve to win. But, hey, you got to move on. That's just the way life is. Move on. Let's see what they do next week, both teams. The same. I said definitely, hopefully, we see these NFL refs. Hopefully we'll see some changes because I can't take this. I can't take this. Heck, I'm ready to apply at this point. I know how to call a touchdown. But just moving on to some of the other stuff going on in sports. Obviously, the big stuff, like I said, obviously was the Monday Night Football game with the refs, the horrible call and whatnot. But just some other stuff that's going on in the world of sports. Notre Dame and Michigan, the big rivalry, mainly known, of course, in football, not basketball. But as far as football, that rivalry looks like it is about to be over. It will come to an end in 2014 due to Notre Dame's new arrangement with the ACC. So basically, as some of you may know, the school had extended their contract in 2007 and, taking the series through 2000, it was supposed to take the series through 2031 season. But it was basically a 3-year rolling basis contract, giving either, team the side chance to put, opt out of the contract, basically. So let me explain that again. So in 2007, both Michigan and Notre Dame had a contract. They extended their contract to basically take the series to 2031. That was going to be the last year, then they would have to renew it or extend it again. But it was on a 3-year rolling basis. So basically giving either side the chance to opt out within 3 years' notice, basically. So with the ACC's new arrangement, or Notre Dame's new arrangement with the ACC, that's coming to an end, canceling the games for 2015 to 2017. So 2014 will probably, more than likely, be the last time, like I said. I never say never, because, we don't really know what's going to happen, obviously, with all these changes going on. But as of right now, 2014 will be the last time we see Notre Dame and Michigan face off in this rivalry. So I'm a little sad to see it go. Like I said, as a Michigan fan, it's always hard to see that, because I've always enjoyed that rivalry, whether, both teams suck, whether both teams are good, whether one team is better than the other. I've always enjoyed the rivalry, just like I do the Michigan State and Michigan rivalry, the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry. So definitely sad to see it go. Definitely looking to see who Michigan will play in all of this, as far as, who are you going to replace? As I said, for so long, that's been a game that Michigan has played. You knew it was on the schedule pretty much right before Big Ten play. So definitely just want to see, who's Michigan going to put in their place. Notre Dame, obviously they, with the move to the ACC or their arrangement with the ACC, it's going to be a little bit interesting. But, as a Michigan fan, I'm a little bit more interested to see who's going to get moved into that spot. Who will Michigan be playing? Will it be a chance to put another big team, from a big conference? Are they going to use it as more of a, run over a small conference type thing? Just kind of see what happens with that. But, definitely sad to see it go. I will miss it 2014. You better savor it because it might be the last time we truly see that rivalry. Other football stuff that's been going on, Andy Reid apparently backtracked on his QB question. I guess originally he was asked, as far as Michael Vick's performances, it was so horrible, and it has been horrible anyway. They just lucked out because other teams didn't execute and win. Just saying. He was asked basically, as far as I guess in his press conference, that is Michael Vick, the starting quarterback, and I guess his reply at that point was right now, and left it at that. But he said it was the last question. I was finishing up the press conference, but he said as far as an explanation of why he said right now, but basically said Michael Vick is our quarterback, period. Listen, does he need to get better? Do we all need to get better? Yes, we're all going to do that. I want to see that. Like I said, you want to backtrack. I don't see what the point of backtracking was. Maybe he needed a little pressure up his butt. I mean, like I said, you gave him all this money. He's not delivering. He's either not delivering or he's getting hurt. I mean, I don't understand what you're backtracking for, Andy Reid. I mean, at this point, show some, manhood. Show you a coach. It ain't nothing what you backtracking for. I wouldn't have backtracked. He needs to know, hey, yeah, for now. I mean, so what if you ain't got a quarterback who can play better than him? Can he play any worse? I mean, let's be real. So, at this point, I said, Andy Reid, just nothing too big of a deal, but, like I said, I just found that interesting personally, he backtracked. Like I said, when he said right now, personally, I like the fact that he said right now. I'm like, yeah, let him know his job may not be safe, but, Andy Reid backtracked, typical Andy Reid, we'll see how long you got your job. Just moving on to a little bit of the, I'm going to go back. It's this little thing that's been going on in the world ball between Aussie, beef, as far as, and I guess it's been going on for years, just, via Twitter and things like that. But I guess during an interview that will air actually tonight on 86, discussed between him and Yura, Aussie, he said basically, Aussie, to be honest, he's a good player. I think he thinks that he's better than he is, and a giant form. Other I got to say about Aussie. Like I said, Aussie said that he actually, basically, that they had a little, it's nothing, even especially on social networks. So I'm not necessarily offended, not to mention you still just not using Twitter in the right way, but if that's what they want to use it for and the NFL is going to allow it, be my guest. And, they've been doing their top, not even top, they've just been doing their players, period, ranking all, and, down 1 and 5. I think 5, close to that number 1 spot. 2 be LeBron James. I would be surprised if not, but still always interesting. Just that top, because Kobe ranked I think like 6 or 7, which I didn't agree with, and then not too much flack because I don't think stuck out. There were a couple things that stuck number 17 on this, and last year originally his rank was number 12. So this was quite interesting for me. To see him fall to 17 was a little bit of shock. But at the end of the day, I understand it because he's an elite offensive talent, but he's terribly inefficient. I mean, at least for the time being, So I get why they did it because he's been inefficient. He's been a poor defender. So at this point, I see why they did it. It's just for some of my Melo fans that I know, they were not happy about it. They were like, "This is some crap. Why is he getting punished at 17? So I got it. I understand you guys are upset, and I'm sorry to hear that. Tony Parker was number 16. Yeah, he jumped up a couple spots, which definitely, I think he jumped up about 12 spots, actually. 16, I guess that's not too bad, I guess. I guess I could work with that. I ain't gonna really, I mean, compared to what he did last year, I mean, I can't really say it's not deserving, but at the end of the day, I can't necessarily say, oh, yeah, you're just so great, you're just this elite guy. But, I guess I can. Tony Parker's, he's an elite quarterback. He's an elite point guard. Like I said, would I say he's the best point guard? No, but he's an elite point guard. He earned it, no matter what he did off the court, he earned it. Not a real problem with that. But the big thing for me was today I noticed that they put Blake Griffin, I believe, at number 14 in the NBA as far as ranking. And I personally, last time he was too high. Last time I think he was like top 10, which was ridiculous. Even this year, I'm going to be real. I could put him in the top 20, maybe in the top 25 or 30. But I don't know if I put him at 14. I don't know if I put him in my top 15. I really don't know if I would. Athletic-wise, like I said, yes, the boy is a monster. You're never going to hear me say anything different. But can I really say he is the 14th best player in our NBA? And the NBA? He still can't post. Defense don't count as jumping up and blocking. Because, like I said, when you got his athleticism, I'll block every shot, too. So that don't count. So I'm personally a little bit on the downside about this one. I think he'll earn it more this year. I think he will end up earning the spot. And I guess this goes by what happened last year. And then speaking figuratively as far as what you think they'll do this year, too. So I guess I see why they gave it to him. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I see why they did it. Just don't necessarily agree with it. But that's just me. But, like I said, I would have put him a little bit lower because some people said that was too low and then some people said it was too high. I first think it's a little too high, me personally, just a little bit too high. But like I said, once again, that's my opinion. You don't have to agree. And like I said, definitely going to be talking about it once they hit the top 10 because I think that's when it's going to get real interesting. That's when the controversy is going to start back up. But once again, I want to thank you for tuning in to this segment of Sports Talk with L-Beasley. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Hey, like I said, if you guys got topics you want me to discuss, maybe, like I said, if you have been following the NBA rankings and it was another ranking that caught your eye, maybe that I didn't discuss, let me know. If it's got something to do with NFL, college football, college basketball, please, let me know. Email me, tweet me, message me on Facebook, whatever you got to do. All my contact information is on the credits. I cannot stress that enough. Hey, and remember, guys, if you want to be a guest on my show, you think you can argue with me. I get that a lot. I would love to argue with you. Yeah, I know. You love to argue with me. Put me in my place. Oh, yeah, I would love to see that. So, if you want to be a guest on my show, just let me know. Once again, contact information is on the credits. All you have to do is let me know you want to be a guest, and we'll set you up on Skype, and you can be an audio or video guest. Like I said, I know some people shy, don't want to be on video. That's cool. You can make you an audio guest, and nobody ever see your face. They'll just hear your voice and your good viewpoints, and they'll hear me destroy you. So other than that, like I said, be sure to let me know if you guys want me to discuss something or if you want to be a guest on my show. Also, please go check out MoneyballSportswear.com. Like I said, they are a huge supporter of Sports Talk with L-Beasley. But at the end of the day, they just got cold clothes. I just can't stress it enough. They got cold clothes for affordable prices. If you want people like to look cold, like to have a little swagger, you like their clothes. So go check out MoneyballSportswear.com. You're going to love it. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys tomorrow.